Alright, for those of you who are actually using your camera instead of your phone with Vine, if you're using your camera to take photos for your animations, I'm going to give you a quick rundown here about how to manage your media to make it easy so when you bring it into Premiere, you won't have to deal with a lot of high resolution still photos that can really bog down your computer. Okay? So what I did was here, I already took a bunch of photos, an animation I did with a pencil on the table. Something very simple. And what I did was I told my camera, I set it up so that the naming convention of all the files was going to just be a number. So you see I got number 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 57. Okay? The reason I did that is because by doing so, it's going to allow you to bring in an image sequence into Premiere. What it does is it brings it in as one clip. I also told my camera that I set it to take photos in RAW. That's why this extension is .cr2. It's the RAW files. The reason I did that is because my camera didn't have the ability to take photos at 1920 by 1080 at 72 dpi. So by taking it at RAW, it's going to allow us to open it up in Photoshop first, and then in a batch, take all of these and convert them to the size and resolution that we want. So that's what I'm going to start with here, preparing my files. So basically we got all these files that I took. I prepared them by having the right name, which is 1 through 57, a numerical name. Okay, so I'm going to highlight all of them. And then I'm going to right click and open with Photoshop. What you see is going to happen is it's going to take a second or two to open up right up here, the Camera Raw. We won't be working on them in Photoshop, but we will be using this Camera Raw window to prepare the files. You can see that they're all over here on the left. I'm going to highlight them all. So with the first one highlighted, I'm going to hold down the Shift key, highlight the last one, and I'm going to hit Save Images. All right. With this in mind, I'm going to change the location. I've already created a mod folder right here. So I'm going to put all my modified clips, still photos into there. Select that. And in here, I'm going to take off this file naming convention. We don't want that because that's not going to allow us to have an image sequence when we import it into Premiere. So I'm going to select nothing right there. It's just going to use the document name. The file extension will be JPEG. The format is JPEG. We want the quality to be the best that we have, so maximum 10 to 12. Color space is fine. We'll keep that at 8 bits. And now we want to resize. If this is not selected, do so because your RAW files are not going to be at 72 and 1920 by 1080. This is what's going to allow us to resize and prepare the files correctly. So width and height should be selected. You want to have 1920 by 1080 pixels, not inches. Make sure it's on pixels. And then the resolution, just make sure that it is 72. Okay? You don't need to do anything sharpening or anything like that. Okay, with that in mind, you hit save, and it's going to take a while, but you can look down here to see the progress. We'll check back here in a minute. Okay, we're back. You can see that it's already done. What we can do at this point is just swap over to our Finder. We'll go back to, these are the ones that we just imported into Photoshop. We'll go to our modified folder, and here they are. They're all JPEGs now. And you can see that what it did was, even though I said 1920 by 1080, it changed to 1620 by 1080. Reason being is because the aspect ratio of the still photos is different from the video. It's okay. It's doable and it's workable right now. So we're going to go with that. Best part about this is though that they're all at 72 dpi. They're much smaller files and you can sort of click through them much easier. And this is what we're going to need to use in Premiere. Okay, so let's go over to Premiere. what I'm going to do is going to import in our project window. And you're going to navigate here to the modified folder. You're going to click the first one. When you do that, you'll notice that down here you have this image sequence. Check that. If any of these files were not named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutively through 57, you would not have this option to click image sequence. So these all have to be consecutive numbers for this to be able to appear. This is going to make it very easy. You can hit import, and this is what it does. You only have to select the first one. Do not select all of the clips. What it did was it brought them all in, though, as one clip. I'm going to put this in here, this animated stills, and double click that and hit play. There's my pencil doing its little ballet. Alright? So that's a very quick and easy way to get your stills into Premiere. Alright? I'm going to bring this down into the timeline. And what's happened is I created the new sequence timeline down here. The first time you put a clip into it, it's going to ask you, this clip does not match the sequence's settings. Should it change the sequence to match the clip settings? Yes, you want to do that. Change the sequence settings to match the clip settings. Okay. What that does is it makes that the sequence not have to work or not have to render anything to an extreme. It doesn't bog down your computer. So here we have my animation. It's happening a little bit too fast for me. Feels like it's too quick. So I want to slow it down a little bit. What I want to do then is right click on the clip, find speed duration. Speed is at 100%. Let me bring it down to 50%. You see that the duration changes. It's going to up it to just over just under 4 seconds. 3 seconds and 22 frames. Click OK. You see that it extends out. That feels good to me. I like that. Okay, so let's say that you did not name all your clips 1 through 57 or whatever number you have consecutively. What is another option for you? What I'm going to show you now is how to import all of these as individual stills, not as an image sequence, but as individual stills, and how to work with them in Premiere that way. So let's do that. Come back to Premiere. I'm going to start off by going up here to Preferences. You come to Preferences, the Premiere Pro Preferences, you go under General. You're going to notice here, the first one up, we're in General, Still Image Default Duration, and it's at 5 seconds. Problem is, you don't want them to come in at 5 seconds each, because that's going to be way too long for each frame if you want to show an animation. So let's change this to frames, and I'm going to change it to, say, 3 frames. So we'll hit OK. We'll come over to here. We'll import. And then instead of hitting this image sequence, this will not be available to us if all these are not named consecutively. You will select them all, import, brings them all in. Here they all are. I'm going to put them into my animation folder. And then I'm going to highlight them all again. And then I'm just going to drag them down here into the timeline. If we look, watch here. I'm going to inch forward with the right arrow key. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. They're all in there, and they're all in there at 3 frames each. So we could play this, and we can see it that way. Okay, you'll notice that the aspect ratio of this is much taller than it is for a regular video. That's because, remember I told you 1620 by 1080, the aspect ratio of the still photo is slightly different than video. This may cause a problem when you upload it to YouTube or Vimeo, because what it'll do is it'll either stretch it or it may put some black bars on the side. If you want the black bars, cool, but we don't know what YouTube and Vimeo may or may not do. So I'm going to actually manually do it here. I'm going to change this to 1920 by 1080, which is the appropriate size for video. Alright, so I'm going to come up to sequence settings, open it up, and you're going to see it says right here on the video, the first one up here, 1620 by 1080. I'm going to change this to 1920 by 1080. Hit OK, hit OK. What it did was it just shrunk them all down and put the black bars on either side. The black bars are not perfect, but at least you have your entire height of your still photos showing up in the frame. If you want to change that, you can do this. Let's use the first one. Let's double click on it, and it opens it up here in the source window. You can come up to either effects controls, and if they're not showing, you can get them under this little arrow, hit effects controls, and the scale. Okay. Let's bring the scale up by like 10 to 110. Let's look maybe 115. You see what I'm doing? I'm enlarging it. 120. That might be a little bit too much. Let's say 118. So there you go. So what's happening is that if I bring it back down to 100, you'll see that the top and the bottom are getting cut off when I bring it to 118. But the sides now are showing right up against it. If I come down here and I inch forward, you see that it's only the first frame that does that. What you can do is here, you come, you highlight that, hit edit, copy, and then highlight all the rest of your frames. Right click or control click on it, hit paste attributes, motion. You want to make sure motion is checked. And what you're doing is you're pasting the size of the original clip that you copied onto all these other clips. So now, if we come back to the beginning and I inch forward, there they are. They're all the same size. I could open up the second one, look in the effects control, and there it is, 118. Same thing for this one, and so on down the line. And now you got an animation that fits the frame. You've unfortunately chopped off the top and the bottom, but at least it's filling the frame. Okay, so if you did use your camera but you didn't take the photos in RAW, I'm going to show you a quick way to batch resize the resolution using Photoshop. Again, Photoshop is a very important tool for us to refer back to all the time. So this is how we're going to do this. I'm going to open up my mod folder here that has all of my stills, 1 through 57, and they're all at 200 dpi, a 200 resolution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the first one in Photoshop, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a script that allows us, or an action that allows us to automate changing the resolution size to all of them at once. But we're going to do the first one individually. So this is how it works. Make sure you come up to your Windows and you click Actions, okay? Actions will open up here. We're going to create an action that's going to record everything that we do, and then it will apply it to all the other still photos when we're ready at the end. So what happens is this. You come over to here with this window open, Actions, this little folder here next to the trash. It says Create New Action. Click that. You give it a name. Let's say resize to 72. Okay. Then you hit record. You see now there's this red record button. It's recording every single action that you do. Let's come up here now. Come up to image, image size. We have a resolution of 200. It's at 1620 by 1080. Remember this first number here. We'll change this to 72, and then we'll put this back to 1620. We got 72 at 1620 by 1080. We click OK. Now, the image size has been changed. You're going to do a file, save as, not a save, but a save as, okay? And let's create a folder for this. Let's say we want to put all of these into a folder called 72 resolution. Okay, create, and then you're going to put this first one in there. It's a JPEG. Make sure it's a JPEG. Hit save. Maximum should be at 12. Hit OK. And now we're done with the conversion of one of these photos. We can hit stop. The action now is saved. Okay. The next step is to batch automate all what we just did for all the other clips. So let's go back to our Finder. Okay. We see now that we have this resolution 72, and it has the first one that we did in there, right? But we're going to want to change all of these now. So let's come back to Photoshop. You don't need to have this open, but with Photoshop here, you go File, Automate, Batch, and you select the action. You might have all kinds of different actions. This one is the one we created. It says resize to 72. Make sure that's selected. The source folder. This is going to help us find the folder that we want to change. So let's hit choose. This is our folder, mod, with all of our clips at 200 resolution. These are the ones we want to change, and they're going to send it over to 72 resolution here. So we choose the folder with all of our clips in it. And then, where do we want to send it? The destination. Let me show you that again. Right over here, the destination. We're going to choose to send them all to the 72 resolution folder. Choose that. Make sure that this override action save as command is checked. When it's checked, it'll ask you about this, and you just say OK. So make sure that's checked. Okay. Then you hit OK, and then watch what will happen. It's going through all of the still photos in that first folder and converting them all from 200 resolution to 72 resolution and putting them into the second folder. Might take a little while depending on how many you have and how fast your processor speed is. And there it is. Once it's done, we can come back to our Finder, find resolution 72, and we have all these clips in here. Let's just take a random one, open it up, go to image size to check it, image size, and there it is, 72, 1620 by 1080. You can close that off, and you're ready to import all of these now into Premiere and use them as individual still photos. Okay?